Okay. Let's continue the sugya of Achoivel, the sugya of Shechita, which is what we're learning Be'ez Hashem. Siyata Dishmaya. So we're going to continue now and move on to the tolda of this Gavaldiga Malacha, which is also very, very practical, very, very negeya. And until now we've been discussing the killing of an animal al pi the shape of Netilas HaNeshama, which is of course the Malacha of Shechita. However, I've got to like cater for both now, right? However, now we're going to be discussing Hachoiva, which means removing blood. Just like in the Pasuk Be'etzem, it's a Pasuk in the Torah that says, Ki dam hu hanefesh. Blood is the neshama, it's a chelik of the neshama, right? And mamash. And therefore, when a person causes blood to come out, to be removed from the body, so that is considered to be an issa of hachoivel, which again, if it's done with a toyeles, with a constructive purpose, needing the blood, that will be an issa d'oraisa, right? Because blood is the nefesh. Kidamu nefesh, that's the loshon of the Torah, which means that when you are removing the blood, you're removing the neshama, the nefesh from that specific mokoim, which is why causing something to bleed, Dubi, is a issa on Shabbos Kodesh. Good morning, Duvi. So, lemaisa like this. There is an interesting Rambam, where the Rambam says, very interesting Chiddush, the Maggid Mishnah goes crazy with this Rambam. And sometimes you learn Maggid Mishnah, the Olam know, when you learn the Rambam, then you look at the Maggid Mishnah, and you see that there's like a screaming match going on over there. The Rambam says that the issa of removing blood on Shabbos is an issa of mafarik. It's like Shechita. It's like taking a lemon and squeezing it on a schnitzel. As they pass in the Rambam, Maggid Mishnah says, Me'echa Teisa, where's the Rambam coming from? What's going on over here? Without going into all the details, we don't really paskin like that Rambam, but we do paskin that removing blood is going to be considered to be hachoiva, which is the malacha of Shechita. Now, just important to note, most of the shaylas, shaya that we're dealing with now are going to be a malacha she'ein tzricha legufa, which is a heavyweight durabanan and not a deraisa. Why Asher is it not going to be a deraisa? Sits in the right place, that's where he's sitting. Why is it not going to be a deraisa? Ephraim, what do you say? Ezi, anyone? Rafal, what do you taina? Yaakov, Menachem, what? Meaning it's a malacha she'ein tzricha legufa, because most of the blood that's going to come out, for example, you brush your teeth, we'll discuss it in a minute, but when you brush your teeth on Shabbos, chas v'sholem, I'm not talking about a person that does. If a person, a guy out there would go and brush, not chas v'sholem, a yid, no yid going to brush his teeth on Shabbos, but if a person would theoretically have the havamina of brushing his teeth on Shabbos Kodesh, right? What's the problem? It could cause it to bleed. Do you need that blood? I don't think so. Now, if you don't need the blood, that's a malacha she'ein tzricha leguf, and that doesn't make it mutter. Matcha, are you with me? It doesn't make it mutter, but it makes it a heavyweight derabanan. Nafkamina legabe choila. If you have someone who's sick, sometimes there's a mokum to be makel. Hatzalah members know that there are two types of removing blood before taking an injection or taking blood. That can be all sorts of shaylas. For example, when they're taking a blood sample to use the blood, that's a malacha she'tzricha legufa. Then already it's a shayla of a daraisa. So now you have to be really careful. When a Hatzalah member or someone like that, doctor, wants to remove blood in order to test the blood because he wants to see what's going on Shabbos, something's happening, then of course, if it's Pekuach Nefesh, there's no shayla. But if it's not Pekuach Nefesh, you really have to know whether that's mutter or not, because using the blood as Malacha Sh'rika Legufa, that's a choiva, Mudaraisa.
When would you be doing something like that, not Pekuach Nefesh?
Again?
When would you be doing something like that, not Pekuach Nefesh?
What do you mean? If a guy, for example, I don't know, he's faint, or a guy's in a situation that he needs to have an IV, a drip, whatever, it's not a Pekuach Nefesh situation, he's in a lot of pain, he's a choila, whatever it is, we need to hook him up. And in order to put the line in, they normally take out a little bit of blood, that's the Metzias. But you don't need that blood. So most times it's a Malacha she'ein tzricha legufa for anyway. But, and a chanami. Sifal. Gavaldik. Have an in-house. Beautiful. Very, very good. Let's move on, Rabbi Isai. Okay. Let's move on. Again, there's a lot of theoretical shaylas over here. These are not halacha l'maisa, obviously. These are just theoretical shaylas, just for the sake of, they show you something, it's for illustration purposes only. So this is what this is. This is for illustration purposes only. If a person hits his friend, that's what I told you, it's only theoretical, it's not negei halacha l'maisa. But if a person would hit his friend, and he causes a bruise on Shabbos, or he causes the blood to actually come out. Right? So, by the way, we mentioned this by refuah, that if a person bites, right, this is again by kids sometimes, they can bite whatever it is. If the teeth actually pierces the skin, that could be a major shaila of an infection, ad gedei kach, that many doctors and Hatzalah members hold that you have to call an ambulance on Shabbos Kodesh. Right? Even if a kid just bites another kid and it pisses, this can be discussed when we learned Hilchos Refuah all the way back then. But the point over here is like this. When you hit somebody else and that causes blood to come out, or it causes a bruise. By the way, in medical terms, what is a bruise? So most times what a bruise is it's the small blood cells that are under the skin, under the surface. You cause them to burst, and it causes the blood to be able to rise to the surface. Obviously, it's not going to go past the skin unless there's an actual cut over there, but it means that's why it comes to the front, and that's why you see a bruise at the surface of the skin. Now, I want to tell you a moedike chiddush. Are you ready for this chiddush, Ben? This is a big chiddush. I heard this from Rabbi Falk Zatzal. Rabbi Falk told me a moedike chiddush. He said to me that all the sugya that you find of bruising, right, with all shilas of what we're dealing with today, when you hit someone or whatever, bruising and all of these things. So Rav Falk told me that's talking about a bruise that stays permanently. So for example, a person would trap his finger in a door, and that could cause something, as the nail goes dark, that could cause a bruise that lasts for a long time. That, says Rabbi Falk, that's the shaila. But a small bruise that you'll do when you give someone a bit of a clap, and there's a little bit of bruise, you say, but it goes away after a small amount of time, that's not a shaila b'chlal, because then the bloody tinies are not dead cells, whatever, it goes back into the system, and whatever. But you have to know, for example, we discussed right in the beginning, the shaila of when you go to a shul and you're a little kid, and there's an alter yid there that says, Shmiel Azaz Zisa Yingala, and he gives them a little Azaz. We should do a demonstration, Epis, no? So the Maisa, the Ben Ish Chai talks about this shai. It's interesting, by the way. I only found this in the Sephardi Sforim. I don't know what the pshat is, but the Ben Ish Chai, and the Kaf HaChaim, both of them brings down that he says it's also to hold on to the skin for a long time until it goes red. That's an Issa D'Rabbanan, he says. Ben Ish Chai in Parshas Ve'era, if you're looking it up, and the Kaf HaChaim as well. L'maisa Rav Elyashiv Zatzal Paskin Halacha L'maisa that there's no kiyum. And therefore, if there's no kiyum, it's mutter. So therefore, all those people, when you go into shul and they say, Yankala, Gavaldik, it's mutter. There's no problem. They're not doing anything wrong. It's beautiful. There may be other problems that we're not dealing with at this moment of time. That's not our sugya. But I'll kapanim, Rabbi Sa'alach Maisa, if it's not going to last, then it is mutter. Chaim, are you with me? Gavaldik. Let's move on. What's that? We'll talk about it. Next, pus pimple. Let's say a person has a pimple and it's really bothering him. It's very painful, it's discomfort, it's not geschmack, it's bothering him. And he wants to squeeze the pus pimple to allow the pus to come out. Now, I don't want to go too much into the sugya because there are many, many different things that are in a gear to this. There's talk about making a pesach, lahachnis or lahoitzi. It goes in and out. That's the daraisa. Over here, Dovi, when I'm squeezing the pus pimple, I'm not interested in the Pesach. I don't want the Pesach, I just want the pus out. True, I need to create the Pesach in order for the pus to come out, but I'm not interested in making a Pesach. So according to that, it doesn't make a difference. According to that, since we're dealing with the situation of tsar, again, we're talking about when a person is in a lot of discomfort, he's allowed to squeeze the pus pimple even if a little bit of blood will come out at the same time. And the reason for that, Bishop says at the reason for that is because the blood that comes out when you squeeze the pus pimple, as long as you don't keep on squeezing and squeezing and squeezing, you only squeeze just to get the pus to come out. A little bit of blood may come out at the same time. That blood anyway was disconnected. That wasn't considered to be connected to the bloodstream in that case. And therefore, again, it would be mutter just to do the initial squeezing, b'mokim tsar, if it's really discomfort and it really bothers you. However, to keep on squeezing, right, and continue and get it all out, whatever it is, especially getting more blood out, which is fresh blood, that is definitely going to be a shaila of hachovel, which could be asa. Yes?
Sometimes when you just squeeze it once, the blood will keep on coming. Is that all?
No, just squeeze a little bit just to get the pus out. That's it. Anything that comes out, don't keep on squeezing. It's hard to say what the getter is exactly, but you have to know not to squeeze fresh blood. Removing a splinter. Again, very negaya. A person gets a splinter and he wants to take it out. That very often will cause bleeding, which is of course is considered to be a shaila v'chayvel. If, again, it's very painful, or a child, discomfort, even for an adult could be as well, to take it out, is going to be mutter. Bleeding, true, but remember the blood is a durabonon. That's why I mentioned to the beginning of today's shir, is that most of the blood that we take out is a malacha she'ein tzricha legufa, because I don't need the blood. The blood that comes out when I take out the splinter, it's not something that I need. So malacha she'ein tzricha legufa, but mokum tsar, they were makel. Especially as Dubi said as well, is it could cause infection depending on where it is. But even without that, it would be mutter because I don't need the blood, and it would be a mokum tsar. Now, of course, if a person has a skin condition, that if he causes when he scratches the skin, or somebody mentioned Menachem, he said if you've got a scab or something like that, right, of course you have to be careful not to scratch it in a way that's vade going to cause blood. But if you're scratching in a way that's not vade going to cause blood, right, that's considered to be a dover she'enim eschav, if it's not a psik reisha, then it would be mutter. Using a toothpick or flossing on Shabbos Kodesh would be depending on the situation, meaning if you know during the week when you use a toothpick it causes blood to come out, or flossing for that matter could cause blood to come out, then avadu it's going to be asa to do it on Shabbos even if I don't need the blood. Not needing the blood doesn't make it mutter, Rabbi say. It just means that it makes it durabonon. So we have to mitzaref another thing, like for example b'makom tsar. Flossing or using a toothpick will only be mutter in a case where it's not vadai that blood is going to come out. And brushing teeth of course fits into the same sugya. Right, Rav Moshe has a whole truth of them in Chasitzchak also about brushing teeth on Shabbos Kodesh. There are be'etzim 6 isurim that a person can be over on when he brushes his teeth on Shabbos. Some of them, for example, just to mention, one of them, the famous ones will be Shechita. Here we've mentioned it here before, right? The Shechita means that when I put the toothbrush under the water and then I put it over my teeth, it squeezes the liquid out, which has been trapped between the bristles, which is Shechita d'Rabbanan, which doesn't make it mutter, but it makes it an issa midrabbanan of squeezing. Number 2, there's a problem of the toothpaste, right, Yudala? We've learned that already here. We had that last week with the sugya of creams and mamreach, which of course toothpaste is of course muktzah on Shabbos Kodesh. There are other problems as well. What Hachana, for example, Rav Moshe talks about afterwards. But in the sugya that we're dealing with today is a choivel, which means that when you brush your teeth, if you know that bleeding is going to happen, that's a psikration. That will be asa even if it's not your kavana. However, if it doesn't happen every time, that might not be the issue, but you still got the problem of schita, you still got the problem with the toothpaste, and other problems as well. By the way, in Eitzah Tova, if you want to brush your teeth and you know that brushing your teeth will not cause bleeding, here's the Eitzah. It's a simple Eitzah. Fill your mouth with water, stick the toothbrush in, and then you could brush, right? Because the schita is only when you're squeezing it from something into an area where it wasn't before. But if there's liquid everywhere, it's like going into the mikveh and you squeeze your hair under the water. There's no problem under the water, by the way, of squeezing your hair. People do that, by the way, when they go to the mikveh on Shabbos Kodesh and they're worried about skita, which they should be worried. I remember Rabbi Zil Orbach told me one time he went to the mikveh Shabbos morning, oy vavoy, he saw chil Shabbos going on over there, gefeilach hamatzav, he told me. But one of the eights that people do, the Hasidim, for example, the Langer Pious. So what do you do with your, not everybody wants, there are some people that want to do, they want to come to shul. That's part of the zach, right? We don't even know if they went to the mikveh, could they just wet their pious. That's a different shaila. But they want to walk into shul lane with the pious over there. It's gavaldi, right? So what do? Under the water, before your head comes out, Bria Chadosha, Ben Ishchai, 5 kavanas. We're not going into the kavanas of the mikveh. Is you do that under the water, and you come out that way. In this way, it's like neatened it out. Otherwise, you have got a problem. How you do that on Shabbos Kodesh? Shabbos Kodesh, Shechita is Shechita. So Kaponim, take the toothbrush and you do it that way with the water ready in your mouth. Or mouthwash, and if you want to use mouthwash, you could use that also. Or they make Shabbos toothpaste, which is liquidy. You put that in your mouth and you squeeze. This way, it's no problem. It's like, for example, just again, I'm just telling the Olam and Eitzah, right? I'm going to say this in the base medrash, but if you have next to the toilet, you have a toilet cleaner sometimes, and sometimes, but Maven Yoven, it needs to be used. Now, obviously, the problem is schita. It's like a toothbrush. The bristles on a toilet cleaner are often packed together very tightly. Water is sometimes trapped between them, and by cleaning, which is a gavaldik azak, the Gemara Chagiga says a person has to make sure to leave everything, make sure not to disgust anyone, because that's the din v'cheshbon. The Gemara says if a person makes someone disgusted, to clean it on Shabbos could be a problem of schita. So what do? Very simple. The eitzah is again. Tohiv eliminating tzarech, we'll say it in the base medrash, is you press the button, so the water's flying all over the place. While the water's flying all over the place, you clean, because then you're not doing an act of schita in a normal way. So therefore, brushing the teeth could be mutter in that way. Otherwise, brushing the teeth would have to be outside. Of course, if it makes it bleed, even in water, that will be a problem. Last sugya aboisai of this malacha that we're going to be discussing of today is, of course, the famous sugya of killing lice on Shabbos Kodesh. Now, there's a famous machlokes in the Gemara in Shabbos Kuf Zayin Beis, major machlokes. If killing lice is an issa or not, nafkamina. Right? This should not be negay. I'm going to give everyone here a bracha. You should not be negay when you have children. Anyone with children knows this is a big bracha to have. You never have to worry about lice with your children. But Ezra's Hashem. Now, if on the odd chance your neighbor knocks on the door and says, I wasn't by the share and I didn't get the, so what do I do in such a situation? They're asking you to pass the shaila. Are you allowed to kill lice on Shabbos Kodesh? Now, I'm not going to get onto the shaila when you take lice out, goizes, because that could be a shaila, right? Because obviously you're pulling out the hair. That would be a problem, right? The Rav Vosner talks about it in Tshuva. He says maybe just hold the hair for one, like hold the root of the hair and with the other finger take it out. This way you've hold the hair. Boy, it's not boy. We discussed the hair once before. It's not boy because it's not considered to be taroivas, right? And there's enough Gemina says the bells that die in Shevet HaKahosei, Chelik Vov, whether or not a person's allowed enough communion between lice itself, kinim, and the actual egg that it lays, because the egg is often much tighter on. All right, whatever. The point is kinim, is lice considered to be a problem of killing? What's the shaila? Without going into all the marmakoimis, just to tell you one thing, do lice come from a mummy and a tati? That's the shaila. Meaning, could they come from Puravu or not? Are they subject to that? And if not, maybe they're not subject to killing Bechlal. Machloikis in the Gemara, Rebbe Lezer and the Rabbanon. I'm not going to go now into the Svaris of Machloikis, but I will tell the Olam that according to many Gedolei HaPoiskim, and just to give you some of the names, because the Olam sometimes like the names, and that is, for example, the Chazanish passes this way, the Halacha Lamaisa, Rav Dessler in Mechtav Melio. I don't know how many times we're going to mention the Rav Dessler on the Marmar Koimus in the Halacha Sheh. So here we're going to use the opportunity. Chelik Dalet, page 351. Rav Shlomo Zalman paskin that way. Chacham Ben Sina Bashaul in the Olet Sion, also the Tzitz Eliezer. Chacham Ovadia in Halichas Olam. Rav Chaim Kanievsky, Rav Falk told me, many other Marmar Koimis as well, that held that killing lice on Shabbos is actually mutter. Rav Elyashiv Lemaisa was machmeh, but even Rav Elyashiv said that if a mokum sar, the child is in discomfort, which often they are, there's a mokum to be makel in that case. I want to wish everyone a wonderful and beautiful day.